Coming up on episode 149 of Anarcho Agenda, I speak with Chris Lopez from the Free State Project. We talk about her life, her move to New Hampshire, and much more. This podcast is covered by the BIPCOT No Government License. This allows for use and reuse by anyone except governments and or government agents. Learn more at bipcot.org. Coming to New Hampshire and getting somewhat involved with the Free State movement and meeting people from the Free State Project and Liberty Forum and various events I've attended, I have come to know some really cool people. One of these people is Chris Lopez. Chris is part of the Free State Project. She works for the Free State Project, and she's going to talk about her life experience. This is Anarcho Agenda, episode 149. I'm Riley Blake. Chris's interview will be after this important message. In this digital age, your information is everywhere on the internet, ready to be used by bad actors. From your social security number to where you live, even your bank details may be out there. It is purely the mere number of others in the same camp that has protected the majority. For nearly 2 decades, ThinkPenguin.com has been developing solutions to protect your privacy. Take back your privacy by going to ThinkPenguin.com and buying Linux-based hardware and software to get back some resemblance of your digital privacy. That's ThinkPenguin.com. I've got with me Chris Lopez, who is a volunteer for the Free State Project, and we both share something in common. Chris, welcome to Anarcho Agenda.
Hey, Riley. Thanks for having me.
So before we get into what we have in common, I want to talk about your path toward libertarianism. How did you get toward libertarian philosophy and why?
Yeah, I guess I've always considered myself an independent, and I didn't really know that there was a thing called libertarianism till I was in my 30s. But I always voted for less or fewer taxes or no new taxes and that kind of thing. And believe that people should be free to live their lives without government oversight, that kind of thing. So I was introduced to libertarian, quote unquote, through my ex-husband, at the time my husband, and he is a libertarian and said, hey, there's this thing called libertarianism. I'm like, that's me. So that's how I was introduced to it.
That's really interesting. I think that some of us come to that philosophy either through talk radio like I did, through Free Talk Live, and your path, you learned it from your ex-husband. Were there any influential characters or ideas that really took hold in your mind other than just independence and less taxes?
Definitely, freedom to choose what you put in your body, freedom to wear what you want to wear, and, just to be an individual. Like I said, I always thought of myself as independent, like, don't tell me what to do kind of feeling, and self-sufficiency too. So not only do I believe that I don't need other people to tell me how to live my life, I believe that I can take care of myself and I can do for myself. I work really hard. I enjoy working, and I think that the things that I need, I can take care of myself. So fiercely independent.
That's a really good quality to have, being fiercely independent. I think it's very important because as libertarians, we like to think, or we like to have this idea in our head that we are absolutely independent. We can do what we want. But we also have to remember that there are consequences to our actions if we put the wrong stuff in our body or harm somebody. I think that's a lot of people forget is that, one of the base principles of libertarianism is don't hurt people, don't take their stuff.
Yep. And including yourself. It's like I'm willing to take the risk, and I can take the time to do my own research. I don't need other people, the government, to tell me what I should or shouldn't do. Yes, I know that there are risks. I'm a full-grown adult.
Right. Now, you volunteer for the Free State Project. How did you get involved with the Free State Project? What exactly do you do?
So I'm more than just a volunteer. I do get paid. They do pay me to do stuff, but my job is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I like to say to people that I answer phones and emails. It's probably a lot more than that. As if people have seen me around, they know that I do more than just. I help to coordinate events. I help to run volunteers. I kind of consider myself a bit of a cat herder because I got a little bit of this and a little bit of that I do, and I try to get people to also help to get work done.
Well, with libertarians, you have to herd a bunch of cats because we like to
Absolutely.
be a little independent minded. We like to do our own thing. And so, planning festivals and things like that sounds like a chore.
It's definitely a job, but it's one that I really love. An old boyfriend said that I think that the Free State Project is your dharma. It's like it's something that means a lot to me, the Free State Project. And so something that I love and I believe in and that I want to do. And I think that, I've been being paid by the Free State Project since 2012. And so I think that I do a good job because I have that independent spirit. So I know that others do too. I can respect them and, try to find tasks that other people that fit their skills as well.
That's really cool. I love the Free State Project movement. I love the Free State movement here to New Hampshire. It sounds like you've been in New Hampshire for a while. Have you always lived in New Hampshire?
I've not. I did move for the Free State Project in 2004. I moved from Oregon to New Hampshire in 2004 and was excited to be on the ground floor, because literally New Hampshire was chosen as the Free State in 2003. So I didn't waste any time, or we didn't. We moved across the country in our little U-Haul and found an apartment and a job and so I basically was working for the whole time in catering and hospitality, and up until 2011 when I became paralyzed, and that's when after a year after that is when I started working for the Free State Project.
Now, you mentioned becoming paralyzed. This sounds like it happened later in life, and that's one thing you and I have in common. We don't have the same disability. I'm blind, and you were paralyzed, and it sounds like you're in a wheelchair from what I hear. Tell me more about how the libertarian movement has treated you, because it seems like a lot of people would say that libertarians hate disabled people because they want to remove government programs. What's your experience been like with libertarians and disabilities?
That's a really great question, because I feel that I've been really lucky in that respect. Definitely, there are people that, think that those of us with disabilities should, work and take care of ourselves and not be on the dole and all of that, which, like I said, I love to work. But when I became paralyzed in 2011, it took me about a year to figure out what in the heck is this new life going to be about in a wheelchair, being paralyzed, being paraplegic specifically. And about a year after that, Carla Garrick, who was the president of the Free State Project at the time, hired me to answer phones and emails. And so she started a project where, well, people were like donating, were giving me charity through that first year, and a bunch of money was raised right after I became paralyzed. And the community just came together and just, like I said, I'd been here since 2004. So people knew me in the community. They knew that I was a hard worker, not one to just, feel sorry for myself. And so they really came together to help, literally, help me to stand up. So after, like I said, a year, Carla hired me, and so the donations that were coming in, she kind of routed to the Free State Project, and then the Free State Project paid me with those donations. So it was like a win-win-win. So the people that were donating were still able to donate to a cause they believed in. The Free State Project got to pay me through those donations, so that was good for them. And of course, I got to work for the charity, which was very meaningful to me and still is.
That sounds more meaningful to me than, requesting government assistance. I mean, I've I've been on government assistance. I know what it's like. And if I were to receive government assistance again, I would definitely want to do some activism with it and take that money, and instead of just, living off the dole and doing nothing, I think it would be more important to, send some of that money into crypto or gold or silver or do some activism. Have you done any
Yeah.
activism while you've been here in New Hampshire?
Well, I said when I moved in 2004, I was really excited. So the first thing I did was join the LPNH and start holding signs for people that were running for office and that kind of stuff. And then as the years went on, I just was really focusing on my work, my personal life, my activism. I think really revolves around me being a good neighbor, being an example of someone who works hard and walks the talk, so to speak. I try not to be a hypocrite. Obviously, I'm not perfect. My activism mostly revolves around these days supporting the Free State Project and, like I said, being a good example.
I think that's a really good activism, to be a good neighbor, because, a lot of people come here and want to challenge authority and the police and be warriors for libertarianism. And I think that's one approach, but I also think being a good neighbor is a really good approach because you build relationships with people around you. That way, if authorities do come after you, your neighbors are like, what the heck is going on?
Right. It's like, who is this and why is she here? And, you know,
Right. And I think that, a lot of activists like me, I came here because I loved watching and hearing about the activism here in New Hampshire. And
Mhm.
I liked the fact that people were challenging authority, and it spoke to me. And so, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for activism still. Right? Like right now, I'm making bread without government overreach or government licenses and that sort of thing. What would you recommend for anyone considering the Free State Project or moving to New Hampshire? What would you recommend they do before coming here?
Absolutely would say come to visit. Take a week, rent a car, drive around the state, meet different people in different parts of the state, see what the different regions look like. I mean, Manchester is a very different city than Lancaster is up north. It's a beautiful state. There are different communities. Some people are heavily into crypto. Some people are heavily into homeschool. Some people are retired. So depending on where you're at in your life, there's going to be a community set that's here in New Hampshire that you will thrive in because these people are already here and are making a difference and have laid the groundwork to visit and to also, you know, connect with us online. We've got some signal groups with different affinities, your gaming and all kinds of interests. People here are, of course, want to be activists, but we also have families and like to do activities and stuff like that. Meet us before you move. Find out before you land where that will be to give you the greatest success to grow the rest of your life.
I think that's really good advice. I kind of moved to Keene because I was involved in Free Talk Live, and so that's why I ended up here. But,
Perfect.
I'm grateful that I moved because it's given me an opportunity to test my independent living skills. If someone who is disabled comes here, are there networks that they could tap into to get more connected with, like, disabled libertarians?
There's not a lot, to be honest, as far as
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I think it's just you and I that I know of.
exactly. Yeah. But there's certainly disability groups. And, I might be paralyzed and living in a wheelchair, but I do a lot of sports. I go swimming and skiing, water skiing and snow skiing and kayaking and cycling and hiking and all these kinds of things that are active with a group of other people in wheelchairs. There's definitely networks of groups and things to do for people with disabilities. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily libertarian, but New Hampshire, it has the live free or die ethic here, so we've definitely just people are independent thinkers and believers already here. So someone might not have the title or give themselves the title of libertarian. But most of the people that I've met in New Hampshire that didn't move for Free State Project are libertarian minded. So I don't know about the networks of disabled libertarians necessarily, but it wouldn't be hard to find a group that thinks like you and understands what it's like to live with a disability in New Hampshire and would not push you away because you're a libertarian or a free stater.
That sounds wonderful. I will have to start reaching out and getting involved in these groups so that I feel like I can network better. I'm just really shy and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, so I'm not too social.
I was going to say that that is something that I see with a lot of people that move. They are shy, and that's fine. Not everybody needs to be the person with the megaphone, but in order to assimilate, I guess, in order to find your groups, you do need to put yourself out there. So it is hard. It's not, it's like I've grown a lot since I became paralyzed 15 years ago because I had to put myself out there. So you have to self advocate. People with disabilities know that. Yes, I have support. I have a lot of friends and a lot of people that I can count on if I need help. But in order to get the resources, in order to keep those friends, I need to self advocate because nobody wants to help a whiny little bitch.
That's very true. They also don't want to get in the habit of taking care of someone who just takes advantage of them all the time.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned some sports you
But
do as a paraplegic. What's your favorite sport to do?
probably kayaking, it is one of the easiest. I mean, it's not so easy for me to get in and out of the kayak, but kayaking doesn't involve your lower half. It's all arm strength, upper body strength. For I am fortunate that I'm not a quadriplegic, so I do have good use of my hands and good core strength in my torso. But they do have kayaking for quads too. Just have adapted, straps that the quad can hold the oar on the paddle. So yeah, kayaking is a lot of fun. It's you're just out there on the lake. Haven't been kayaking in the river yet, but it's just so serene, and so I don't know that it's a sports. But that's kind of where I roll.
That's really cool. Now, you mentioned you like skiing. How do you do skiing as someone in a wheelchair? Is that easy to do, or does that get complicated?
It's a little bit complicated, but I've found advocacy groups here in New Hampshire that adaptive sports is literally what they're called, where volunteers, uh, physical therapists, get uh, help you to get into the ski and show you what you need to do and are there with you to, I would say, protect you or to keep you safe. And so um water skiing and snow skiing are both kind of like you kind of sit in a little cradle on a ski, and so the cradle, like, of course, supports your lower back and, and secures you to the ski. Um, and then you're given the gear, whether it's the little sticks for water or snow skiing, or the rope for water skiing. You just hold on to that, and like I said, there's a secondary person there to help you. I've been snow skiing. It's tandem, so the assistant is literally behind me, and helping to direct the ski as you're going down the hill, the mountain. And then with the water skiing, there's a person on a skidoo that's following you. So when you eventually fall in the water, they're there to bring the rope back. But at all times, you feel safe. I've always felt safe. The water skiing. I've got the vest on. They do a little roll with you before you go out into the deep water to show you how to bring your head back up out of the water when you fall. So they give you the simple training and are there for you at all times. And the same with the kayaking. There's always, I've got these like little cheater buoys on the kayak. So if I do tip over, which I had never have, the buoys are there to protect you. There's other kayakers that again are trained that are following, and at all times I've felt safe.
That's really cool. That sounds like something I could do. I mean, I've tried ice skating here a bit, and I haven't gone back to it in a while, but I think I'll try that again at some point. But skiing and water skiing sound like a lot of fun.
They are. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You got to put on all the gear, and people have to help you get in and out. So it's I wouldn't say humiliating, but it is definitely is, keeps you, not in your place, but what's the word? We're just kind of you have to let people help you, which isn't always hard for an independently minded person.
I know it's hard
And
to
trust them.
let people help me. It's hard to know exactly what kind of help I need sometimes. So, like you said
Mhm.
earlier, advocacy is really important.
Yeah, so when someone's helping me, I it's up to me to tell them what I need. I can't expect someone to know that something's rubbing me the wrong way, or, actually I like it better if we go this way. You know, we're not robots. So that interpersonal communication between myself and the instructor or assistant is vital.
I agree with that. New Hampshire has done the Porcupine Freedom Festival for the past several years. What's Pork Fest going to look like this year?
Well, I'll tell you, it is spontaneous order, we're calling it. And so usually in the past, it's been at a campground for a week. So through most of the years, it's been up at Rogers Campground in Lancaster. For a couple of years. It was at a ski resort, Gunstock. So this year, where it's going to be at different locations around the state. So there's going to be a couple clubhouses that have events. There's going to be Rooted Free, a makerspace that will have events. So the Quill in Manchester is going to have a week-long series of events, including Welcome Wagon with Carla Garrick is going to be there to meet and greet with people. There's going to be a soapbox idol and a poker tournament and that kind of thing there. Up in the North Country, they're having events too, including their own soapbox idol. There's going to be gaming, and I would go to the PorcFest website, porcfest.com, to see the schedule. It's basically going to be, instead of it being in one place, it's going to be all around the state. And I have friends that have already, planned their week. So they're going to go here on one day and there on the next, and then up there the third day, and just travel around the state. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to to see the state, to travel, to meet with different people all around the state. Like I said earlier, visiting before you move, I think is really important so that you can meet people because not everybody's going to, be best friends with Chris Lopez. They might prefer to spend time with Riley Blake, So let's take the time to meet us both. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll be a little more challenging. This is the first year that we've done it this way, but there's a lot of great people that are planning events. It's going to be different. Like I said, the Quill is going to have in Manchester is going to have a welcome bag, and so in there will be your passport to freedom. And so that'll give you some ideas. It's a little looks like a passport, and it's got each page has a suggestion of where to go and who to see and what to talk about and that kind of thing. So I would recommend coming and getting one of those and starting your week off that way.
It sounds like having a decentralized Porcupine Freedom Festival is going to be a really interesting challenge to push the Free State Project in a different direction. I know some of the people I hang out with are concerned about it being a challenge and very difficult to navigate because gas prices are high, inflation is still out of control. But I think this could be a really good opportunity for us to really promote New Hampshire in a way that it's never been promoted before. We've always done a
Abs-
centralized event, and now we get to do a more decentralized event.
Absolutely. Like I said again about the visiting New Hampshire with Porkfest being a week long all around the state. I'm hoping to see each community to step up their game because people are going to be coming to visit. And so, I mean, you're gonna probably be at Fork Fest, I'm guessing, which is cool. I mean, there's so many of us here that there's too many events to go to. you know, it's we all have our own little niche and our likes and our dislikes, and there's like something for everybody. Despite the gas prices, I mean, that's why Pork Fest tickets are free. All the events at the Quill are free. Most of the events up at North Fest are free. There's a few that are ticketed. Other than the gas and the time between places, I mean, I would say enjoy that time between places as you're driving. New Hampshire is gorgeous. A lot of rural roads, so you see a lot of trees, but you probably also see a lot of deer, turkey. You can bring your pets with you, that kind of thing. Kids, this is very kid friendly, family friendly events, and new opportunities is what I would call it.
I definitely agree with you on that. I think it's going to be nice to have a new opportunity to grow. And maybe next year we'll take a look back and say, this is the best thing we've ever done because it's given us an opportunity to step up our game a little bit and promote New Hampshire.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Now, are you also a fan of cryptocurrency?
I am a fan. I'm a fan of cryptocurrency. Even though I've been here since 2004, when it was first introduced to me, the first time I heard about it, I think it was 2009 or 10, definitely before I was paralyzed. And Ian Freeman was promoting Bitcoin at Liberty Forum, and it was like 35 cents for Bitcoin. And
Oh,
it was
man.
like, this is like dumb. What the heck is this? So I didn't get into it till 2012. And at that time, I think it was 14,000, 12,000, something like that. I don't think it was 1,200. But anyways, so I got into it late, but not early enough to have made, hundreds of dollars or more. But that's okay because it's definitely grown since then, and I have my little wallet, and I'm able to purchase things here in New Hampshire with that. I get my monthly Bardo Farm meat order that I'm able to pay with in crypto, so I've got plenty of farm raised organic meats in my freezer, all paid through Bitcoin. I have other friends that have services that I can pay with through crypto. And so it's kind of nice. I just have to keep remembering to re up my wallet. That's something for whatever reason I've forgotten. And after, between 2012 and 2020, I didn't buy a lot. So I just kind of used what I had in those years. And then it was like, oh shit. Then it went up to $100,000.
I know.
I was
We
like,
all missed out on the buying opportunities when it was good.
yep, yep. Who knows? It might go, up again, and I'm not getting rid of my wallet. So I've given some away as gifts to my nieces and nephews who are all in their 20s, and I'm not sure if they still have it, but I did tell them to, keep their passcode to themselves and keep it safe because that's it. It is what it is.
Right. And I think that's the good thing about cryptocurrency is it's really secure. The bad thing about it is if you lose your passphrase, you're out of your funds. But it's nice to have a way to exit the fiat system, to exit the dollar system entirely and have alternative currencies like gold back, silver, crypto, things like that.
Yep, I've got a little bit of each. I've got a little bit of cash. I've got a little bit in the bank. And so, what do they say that hedging your bets kind of thing? And so, I wish I had a little bit more gold. But yeah, as a libertarian, I don't trust that the the systems are going to hold. And so who knows when or where or what's going to exactly happen. But after we saw what happened with COVID and how and the mass hysteria, the world is not listening to their heart. They're listening to the masters. And I will be holding on to my crypto and my silver and probably now my gold backs. Who knows, like I said, if I'll ever need it, if anything will ever happen, but more than likely something's going to happen and I will be happy to have my real money, my actual silver, be able to trade in real goods, not paper money.
I second that, and I think that anyone who might have a disability and is on government assistance should take note and say, maybe I should put $20 away into goldbacks or crypto and see if I can start building assets outside the system so I don't have to worry about being on the system if it ever crashes, which it eventually could. Would you agree with that?
Yep. Exactly. It's a scary thought for somebody that's dealing with a disability to think that, they would take their literal money, what they think that they are being supported on, and putting it away into something that's volatile. Let's be honest, crypto's volatile. Um, but but so is cash, so is the US dollar, so it's kind of hard, for somebody that's, raised in the normalness of, America, being a normal American or, person in the world, even to think that something new and different and weird like crypto could actually be the lifesaver that they need. I'd like to see more people with wallets. It will make it easier for us to trade and to share uh, if more people had wallets.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people would benefit from having crypto in their possession because once we start building the system accepting crypto and goldbacks and building networks of people, we're going to be able to have grocery stores accepting crypto. We're going to be able to buy property in crypto. And for me, I pay rent in Bitcoin, which is really nice. And
Yeah.
being able to pay rent in Bitcoin is really cool. It's really exciting that I can just hand my landlord some Bitcoin and they can call that rent for the month. And I think that's really cool that we are building a system outside the current system just so we can benefit other people around us, not just ourselves.
Yeah, that's great. Libertarians can be thought of as selfish people, but we do need each other. It's like no man is an island. We can't live alone, so to be able to share the resources that we have and be willing to give and take with what we have, with our disabilities, we don't have all the things that an able-bodied person has. So to be able to pay our rent in crypto and not rely on Medicare, you know, to pay your rent, because you're a poor blind person. But you don't have that attitude, and other people around you don't have that attitude. They're like, man, this is what you got, this is what I take, and let's make a deal. It's not as scary as it seems.
It's really not. I know it feels scary when you're moving away from home. At least for me, it has been feeling scary at times, moving away 3,000 miles from Utah and family and that sort of thing, and the networks I had to rely on in the past to establish a new network. But at the same time, it's really testing me and helping me grow into a better person. And I'm sure moving across the country has also helped you grow, and becoming disabled has helped you grow in ways that you didn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Of course, I appreciate life and a lot more. And I we talked about sports a little bit, but I was never a sporty. I think of myself as an artistic person. I like to sing and play guitar and music and cook and that's kind of fun stuff. But uh, I was never really any good at sports. I'd kick basketballs, and I just didn't really like it. I was always the last person picked on a team. So, but once I, became paralyzed. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm alive. That didn't kill me. I'm going to ski down a mountain. I'm going to, kayak and go on to the beach and do all these things that I used to think were scary and hard. And I challenged myself more. I like myself more because I made it, I guess. The girl who lived.
Definitely. Is there anything else you want to share?
I appreciate you touching on different aspects of my life and asking me about them and the Free State Project and Pork Fest and my paralysis and my journey. I hope the story goes out to other people that might find some kind of inspiration or ask questions or be able to come out of the shell and come visit New Hampshire. I'm glad that we became friends, Riley, and your bread's really good. I tried it at Liberty Farm, and I would just say keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been a challenge to learn new things, and learning how to make bread has been a skill that I've had to develop because I want to develop more skills and be more marketable than just, oh, I do audio production work. And not everyone wants audio production work. So maybe, developing skills like baking bread is going to teach me how to do different things and develop different skills
Mm-hmm.
along the way.
Yeah, yeah, it's a challenge, but that's actually what life is about. I think, it's to learn things, to grow. And just a girl in the world. And I mean, I guess I just want to be treated like a girl in the world, not as a disabled person. It's like I'm a person first. And I can't do everything that an able-bodied person can do, but there's certainly things that I can do that they can't do. Just like, all able-bodied people. Not everybody can play guitar. Not everybody can cook well. Not everybody can walk. And so I just want to be treated like one of the guys, one of the gals, it's like not looked at as different or weird. Okay, you can look at me as weird. That's fine. But
You're
but
libertarian. You don't have a choice.
yeah, it's a little bit weird. So that's what I would say about that.
I second that. I think having me be treated as a person or having you be treated as a person is definitely the way to go. I think that's the value of libertarian philosophy.
Yep, because it's funny that I had to say that because some people don't think that way. They feel sorry for you or they're afraid. They think of themselves like, "Oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen to me." That's fine to, think those things, but don't treat me like you're afraid of me because you're afraid for yourself.
Or don't treat you like you can't do things on your own. They got to be overly helpful. I've had that experience too from time to time where people are really overly helpful.
I know. It's like, oh, I got this. And I'm like, or open the door for me as I'm opening it,
Yeah.
you know, thing. And, you have to say thank you. I guess you don't have to. But like I said, nobody wants to help a whiny bitch, but also nobody wants to help an angry one. So uh,
Right.
sometimes
Right.
I bite my tongue and, because of course, I have to self advocate like we've talked about before. But most people, I think, that are being, quote, helpful are doing this out of kindness. They think of themselves as being kind and they don't really know. So, this, again, you could say no, thank you nicely. And they're like, no, 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 I got it. And I just want to say, no, I got it you know, but that's not going to teach them. So try to find teachable moments, where, somebody's like, well, how are you going to do this? And I can, well, let me show you, you know, and I'm open to questions, ask me, how did you become paralyzed? What's it like? You know, it's kind of weird when people ask you personal questions, that you wouldn't ask an able-bodied person,
Yeah.
you know, very personal, but again, teachable moment. And hopefully I'm a good teacher or a decent one and where I don't berate other people for just not knowing.
I hope I'm a good teacher too, but sometimes I don't feel like I am because maybe I don't want the help and I don't know what to say or whatever.
Right. Exactly. I'm learning still on how to tell other people what I need. That's really hard for me. And sometimes I don't know. I'm reaching for something, and someone's like, "Well, how can I help you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just need that to be here." And it's not just as easy as picking it up, but patience is a real thing.
It definitely is. And I'm grateful that we're friends, Chris, because it's been nice to get to know
Yeah.
you and create a bit of a network of people with disabilities in the libertarian community. I think often people mistake libertarians as, selfish, like you said earlier, and they don't care about disabled people. Why do you continue to choose libertarianism over socialism, for instance? Because socialism seems like an ideology that could benefit the poor, but we all know from history that it actually doesn't.
Yeah. Well, again, I like to work. So if somebody took away that opportunity from me and just said, "Oh, just live your life comfortably. You can, we'll feed you and we'll just give you shows to watch and,
You
you
deserve to
know,
be taken care of by society.
deserve." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like that's gonna just turn me into a lazy lump and eventually, you know, not have a fulfilling life. So my life would be less if I wasn't able to get up and about and do for myself. And there are people with disabilities. I have friends in wheelchairs that definitely want to be taken care of. And so there are people like that. But I guess you asked as a libertarian, I just I don't know, I can't even understand it. I get depressed, I get lazy. There
Oh,
are times when
absolutely.
I don't wanna get out of bed, and I just want, to order pizza and just watch my TV. Then I'm like, the next day, like, "Well, that was boring," and I know it's a slow slope. It's a quick slope actually to being nothing. And we're something, Riley. We're something that can do. Can't do everything, but nobody can do everything. I don't need the state to take care of me. I don't we've seen, Riley, how the state has taken care of people with disabilities,
Yes, they make
and
you
they
perpetually
don't.
poor.
They make you poor,
They
they
make you
put you in
dependent, they make you
institutions.
sick, they make you depressed.
Oh my gosh, I had a friend who's a quadriplegic who went had to go to the hospital for a pressure spot, and so he's healing with that, and so they're supposedly taking care of him, right, in a rehab hospital. Well, they weren't giving him the flips that he needed, so he developed another pressure spot, and it's like, this is stupid. I mean, these people are literally supposed to be taking care of him, and they're making him worse. He lived with his with paralysis for, what, 30 years? Something like that, and as a quad, and so and he lived alone, he was very independent and stuff, but as soon as other people were taking care of him, he went downhill,
Yeah, and
and that
that's
was sad.
yeah, that's really, really tough because there is part of me that wants to be taken care of by other people, but no one here is going to do that for me because they're like, "Hey, man, you came here to New Hampshire to be independent. You got to take advantage of that." So I got to
Yep.
take advantage of learning how to really be more independent than I've ever been.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's hard. But, I guess what do they say? Anything worth having is gonna be hard work, something like that.
Something like that. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris. It has been a pleasure to interview you.
Yeah, thanks, Riley. This has been fun.
This concludes episode 149 of Anarcho Agenda. I'm Riley Blake. If you like my content, support me on Patreon at patreon.com/crblake86. That's patreon.com/crblake86. Also, don't forget to support my advertiser, Think Penguin, at thinkpenguin.com. Thank you very much for listening. Catch you next episode. Peace.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.